Board games, marketing, it's what we're talking about. Board games and marketing, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And today we might talk about the ELL deck and what we are doing well and what we could maybe better do to entertain and bring stuff to you. Board games and digital marketing is what we're talking about. Board games and marketing, the ELL deck. I'm not gonna shout. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever people are. And it is time for Bezzy Beats and Briefer Blether, where we chat for, it might be like when it's a guest, it'll be at least half an hour probably, because we'll have to get through the games that we've both played recently and we'll have a bit of a chin wag, but it's definitely not going to be, you know, the hour or even 2 hours epics that we used to have in the past. It's going to be a bit briefer. But yeah, I've already explained the main topic today. We're going to chat about the ELL deck. Is there anything that you want to chat about the main topic before we go and start with our regular recent highlights?
Let's jump into it. Yes.
Okay, so recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. So, is that one of your recent highlights?
Definitely.
Let me see.
I mean, it says hello, gorgeous. I got this one from Timothy's mum.
Aw, that's so cute.
She was like, "You're so good to my son. Here, have a coffee mug." And I'm like, "I love you."
Aw.
So I have So every time I have coffee now, I get to think about someone actually cares.
Aw.
Oh, so nice.
That is so lovely and kind of, I think that sharing a gift, like, there's also something wonderful about, I've talked in the past about giving labor or giving time as a Christmas present or as a birthday present. Like one of my siblings, you know, a nearby friend said, "Okay, I'll watch your children for a day, and that will be my Christmas present to you." And it's such a wonderful Christmas present.
I love that.
And it was
Please
actually
given
before Christmas so that my sibling could go off and do some Christmas shopping or just enjoy themselves or just whatever, just have some time off.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I had to fix her dress because she was going to a wedding. So I was like reshaping it and then taking it in where needed and just changing a little bit here and there. And I added some ribbon in the back just to cover a little bit more because she wasn't happy with how deep cut it was in the back. So I just came up with this, like, I went into 7 different stores to find the ribbon that would be perfect. And it just looked so nice in the end. And then as a gift, as a thank you, I get a coffee mug.
That is amazing. And I love the fact that you've got this one item that every time you interact with it, it's like probably for years and years now, you'll just be remembering, "Oh, someone loves me." That's so lovely. I do want to say a quick hello. Yes, this is Bez, and that is Dina. That's Dina. You're Dina. And hello, Jess. It's lovely to see you. And hello, Selena. It is lovely to see you too. And finally, or hopefully not finally, but also for now, hello, J Foolsguard. It is lovely to see you all, and I hope that you are generally doing well. We're just talking about recent highlights and what we've been enjoying recently, and talking about getting a coffee mug. Let me talk a wee bit about what I got up to yesterday with all these games played.
Wow.
So you get to buy 4 beers for the price of 1 1/3 pints. So these are 1/3 pint glasses, and they don't charge you any extra, but you just need to buy 1 1/3 pints. And then it's like, hey, if you like drinking a variety of things, which I do, I like a variety of tastes, well, then you get 4 of them. No longer do you need to just limit yourself to half pints. You can get third pints, which is amazing. And they've got little blackboards on them, and you can see the blackboards have kind of things to remind you which beer is which. I did also have, like, I go there, I spend a bit of money supporting the pub, and yeah, this is a buy a fish quesadilla. We played a game with Looney Pyramids. That was my favorite. And let me go show you all my. So we played Nomads. Have you played Nomads?
I've never even seen it.
So this is one of the Looney Pyramids games. I would say that this is the only one of the 4 little boxes that I didn't enjoy. And as I said, in like, there's 4 of these tiny boxes. All of these are a bunch of games playable with these pyramids. In theory, if you want to take these pyramids and play other games with them, you can. The pyramids are a game system, but the issue is that some games need more pyramids, some games need fewer pyramids, some of them need little boards or little boxes or stuff, but it didn't fill me with any sense of agency. I think that some people would enjoy it, and I will keep it purely for having the pyramids, for playing other games, but I doubt I will ever play that again. To answer Jess, I think, it is London prices. It is kind of pricey. So 1 1/3 pints, it was maybe £7, £8. And
Still fair, I'd say.
but yeah, so we've got these pyramid games. I would not rate that highly. These are 2 games I absolutely love. Kawaii, super interactive. You get a bunch of cards. You've got more and more cards, and then eventually someone else can grab your cards by giving you a heart, or you can grab your own cards by throwing away your love. But you've only got 2 hearts. I mean, it's not like real life. You've got 2 hearts, so at least if you break one, if you give one away, you can still give it to someone special. And so, it's got that tension of, am I going to grab this before the other person grabs it? And I love that tension. I think that the only reason I wouldn't recommend this to you, Dina, to play with your child is it's 3 players minimum. It's 3 to 5. But if you often play, if you like light, simple games for 3 to 5 players, I would absolutely recommend this one.
I mean, we do have a neighbor now who said that they would be up for coming over to play games. And I was like, are you sure you want to play games with my kid? Because, and he's like, if your kid likes Alhambra and Carcassonne, I'm in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Can you also bring your cat? So yeah, we do have a designated third player now who lives in the next door.
Amazing. And so is the cat just going to be coming to visit so you can give the cat cuddles or something?
We hope so. We're going to work towards it. So far, it's just a person coming over to play games.
Yeah, some cats love in the chat.
I know.
And High Society by Reiner Knizia. This is one of the all-time classics. Have you played this one?
No, I've not seen it.
Oh, you need to.
I love it.
I mean, need to play. I don't like that phrase because it's like, oh, you aren't a proper gamer until you've played this one game. But this is genuinely one of the all-time best games around.
I mean, the Saddle alone is damn hot. I feel like I should explore this game some more.
So this is the latest release by Osprey Games. They did do a really nice production of it. It's a bidding game. You've got secret cards, that's all your money, and then you place your money to make a bid. When you make a bid, let's say you've bid 25, you're not allowed to then raise the bid to 30 unless you're able to play cards that add up to 5, because you can't take back your cards. Your cards are kind of like a restriction, if you know what I mean. You've got to use them exactly. And so that becomes a little tricky part of the game. But the really tricky part of the game is that, yes, it's an auction game, which if you like auction games, definitely gets it. The person who bids the most at the end of the game and you'll never know when the game is going to run out unless it gets to the last card, in which case, okay, the last card
Yeah.
is going to end the game. But there's 4 green cards. Once the 4 green cards has come out, you don't even bid for it. It just ends immediately. And then the person who spent the most money loses the game. No matter what they've got, they just lose the game. But then everyone else, they compare like how much they've got. So like you might win with 10 points or 14 points, or you might win with 5. And yeah, as you can see, some of the green cards, they give you half or double things, and there's some negative cards that really there's a lot going on in it. There's a lot of randomness, there's a lot of excitement, but there's also a strong feeling of agency, which is what I love about auctions.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's also the core of auctions, the agency element.
And like that tension that the person who spends the most loses a game, that's such a lovely thing.
Yeah, you'd have to be really cautious on those auctions then. Can't go wild on those.
And have you played Herbaceous?
I keep picking it up at the shop and I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's some really pretty cards. And then for some reason, I keep putting it back. And I was like, I want the game, but I also don't want it. And I'm not quite sure why. So, yeah, we're having a bit of a tug of war whether or not I'm going to get it. It might happen.
I would recommend giving it a go if you can get access to it. I don't know if it's on Board Game Arena or anything. But so this is by, I believe, Dr. Finn, who also did Biblios, which has Biblios has this lovely mechanism of taking a card and do you want to keep this card or do you want to put this card away, not knowing what the next card is going to be, and you only get what to keep one of these cards. In this game, it's got that lovely mechanism of, okay, see a card, do you keep it for yourself or do you put it into the center, and then you draw a second card and it goes into the other place, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so what I'm really wondering is how does this compare to like Verdant? She's like on Kickstarter, because I backed that and I feel like I don't want too many of these games too.
Yeah, I've not played Verdant. I mean, the truth is, after playing this, I would happily play it a second time. We only played it once. Yeah, I would happily play it a second time. I'm not in a rush. I'm not... yeah, it does have a lovely tension. It does have okay, there's the central bit. It kind of reminds me of Kawaii, which you saw 5 minutes ago, where you've got this access to this bit, and then you want to get it late enough that you're getting something really good, but you want to get it early enough that someone else doesn't take all the good stuff away, and then you're left with the dregs. And so it's got that kind of game of chicken, and it's really, really nice. And but yeah, I don't know. I could see it growing on me. I mean, I would happily play it again, and I can't say that about every game that I played. So yeah, definitely give it a go, but I'm not going to race to say this is going to set my world alight or anything.
Is it okay if I jump in with one of my recent plays?
We could have alternated. Thematic. That might have made more sense. I just had one more, and then I was going to let you take the floor.
Because it's kind of thematic to jump into this one.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so I just picked up Fungi. In the game, you go into the forest and you're picking mushrooms. You get these mushroom cards in front of you.
Yes.
And they have tasty treats on them and how yummy they are. On your trip, you're bringing a pan. Each time you get a set of like 3 or more of the mushrooms, you can cook it. And then you put them to the side for points. You can also go cook picking mushrooms at night. And if you pick one of these in front of you, you can go into the night and pick up cards. In order to go deeper into forest, you need a stick like this, which allows you to go further in and pick up other cards. During the game, you can also pick with you cider and butter in order to make the yummy mushrooms even yummier. And then you pick up your basket so that you can hold more mushrooms. And it's fantastic because, you know, each of the game It only comes in English and in German, which I thought was brilliant. And on in the rule book, let's see if I can actually focus on this. Is it letting me? No.
I can't quite see the text, but what does it
I
say?
don't. Okay, so it says auriculari auricula. So all the cards are in Latin, well, you can
Ah,
actually see it
wow.
now. And in the rule book, in the German and the English version, they're referred to as with their English and German names, which means that every time I'm like, what mushroom is that? I don't know. And it's really confusing. But luckily, they also have
Wait, so
a guide.
auriculare alicular is the name of the mushroom.
Yes, in the Latin name.
Okay.
So so they're all in Latin, but luckily there's this guide that
But
tells you
there's
so you can
no.
kind of
Okay, so
compare.
you see the picture and then the English name. So, in theory, this could be a really good game if you want to learn the Latin names for mushrooms.
I mean, yeah, there's a glossary terms here, and but in the rulebook itself, it says if you get this thing, then that happens, and I'm like, okay, what is that? And then I have to go to the guide to check like what is the comparison, like what is the picture and what is the actual name? Because I didn't know, like I don't really know that many mushroom names, so
And
how
have you
was I
found that's
supposed
a
to know?
delightful process, or have you found it kind of annoying, all the looking up?
Well, my kid doesn't really care because I'm playing with him, and he just likes the pictures. So like, when we got the honey fungus, and I told him that's the name, and he's like, "Oh, that makes sense because it's like honey colored," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So it has become, a bit of a learning process for him to like give names to things and how things are named, and he can kind of see the logic in naming conventions, which has been like the theme for the week for me, like naming conventions all across because I launched the game on Tuesday and it had some naming conventions too to it, and like how do you pronounce it? Where I pronounced it one way, the game designer pronounced it another way, and then when we checked the inspiration behind the naming, I did it the right way, but he didn't like it. So now we're kind of thinking if we should change how we're spelling the name because it wanted to
Hmm.
fit with how he's saying it. And it's just been like, oh, it's fantastic with like naming conventions and diving into origins of names and oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that paying attention to the things, and someone talks about playing war games as learning.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got a game that's really about some point in history, you play the game and then you talk about the abstractions, and then it's like,
Yeah.
how is this different from reality? And it's that discussion, that kind of analysis that really leads to the learning.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, lovely.
They're talking about meat and
Yeah, Jay Foolsguard
salad.
is eating something. So Jay Foolsguard is making some tomato salad and some fried meat, which does
Oh,
sound delicious.
that sounds good.
But, the question of what kinds of meats, yeah, that's just,
Mm,
yeah, no,
that's quite a far jump. I mean, I would probably go with
yeah.
tuna meat or,
I would assume, like, I don't know, beef or pork or, I don't know.
pork probably is the common one with tomato salad. I wouldn't know anymore. I've been so far out of the meat scene, so I'm not quite sure what's happening.
Well, I didn't realize you were are you vegetarian or vegan?
Leaning vegan, it's a little bit tricky to have a kid and be vegan, so I'm vegetarian most of the time. And obviously, when
Mm,
he's not with me, I am fully vegan and everything. So we're
okay.
slowly trying to incorporate more and more vegan things for him as well to eat. Just making sure that we're looking at nutrients and all that.
And J Fool's guard says beef. Sorry. And I mean, it's an interesting thing. Like, I think it shows that there is an acknowledgement. Like, yeah, I'm eating the flesh of dead animals. Is that okay? Is it? But it's not like apologize. It,
Yeah, no,
like, if
I don't think.
you don't have to apologize to vegetarian people or vegan people for having different principles. I mean, it's an interesting
Yeah,
thing that I sometimes get the same way. It's like, oh, are you okay with me eating this? Um, but I think it shows almost like an acknowledgement that, there are downsides and maybe it isn't the best thing to do all the time.
Yeah, but also like I think the whole guilt thing around people, like I don't want anyone to feel guilty for eating whatever they like to eat just because I am choosing to eat this particular types of food.
Mm,
And like I don't quite get it. Like Twitter and TikTok lately, the last couple of weeks has been like, if you're not vegan, like what is your excuse? Kind of thing. And I don't get the
mm,
hostility of it. It's just it doesn't make sense. Like I eat it because it's the only thing that I can actually eat that doesn't make me feel ill. I don't do it for like obviously the ethical is a bonus, and I am trying to limit the eco footprint of my household. Like I choose cloth nappies for my kid and stuff like
mm,
that. But it's just I don't want others to feel guilty for not doing it, and I'm not a better person for doing it. We're just people.
mm. I mean, it is interesting because I think it is worth being aware that beef does have a big impact on the environment. And, from what I understand, if you have pork rather than beef, there is a much lower impact on the
Mm-hmm.
environment. But yeah, you need none of us are perfect, and I think it comes down to what are you doing that's good and what are you doing that's bad, and then when you're doing things that do harm the environment or impact negatively on those around you, is it worth it for your own thing? Because all of us are frankly we can't be like, okay, humans, our existence is bad for the environment, therefore let's all 9 billion of us arrange mass suicide. And,
Oh, well,
sorry to
that
get
went
really
sad really
dark,
fast.
but like that is kind of the end result. If you kind of go down that path of, yes, our mere existence, it is true. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, there is a growing trend in the UK of people not wanting to have kids because of the environmental impact. It is definitely a concern for a lot of people of like how they choose to do their family structure. And several countries all over Europe is having, dramatically declined of birth rates because of this. And I think obviously, yes, there is something to it, but also like, yeah,
Mm,
if we could only force the corporations to do something. And I am obviously a huge fan of Thunberg, who's just, yeah,
I'm
this
not familiar with that.
Swedish 18-year-old advocate
Oh, yes.
who is also autistic.
Mr.
What's his first
So,
name? Can't remember his first name.
firstly, it was an apology because you recommended pork. So we did completely misunderstand the apology, but I did quite like that side tangent. Also, Jess talks about once dating a vegetarian who complained if Jess ate meat in a cafe in
No,
front of them. I agree that it wasn't fair.
that was not fair. No,
And yeah, Jess says it sucks when ethical vegans get too judgy. Judgments won't make people go vegan. It will
exactly.
make people go
Yeah.
defensive. Jay Folsgard says eating less meat is a good thing. Um, Apparently, an astrologer told Jess to not eat meat on Thursdays. I find this like
Oh,
one meat-free day a weird thing because it's almost like, yeah, eat as much. Loads of, it's like I guess it does start making you think about that one thing. But apparently, Jess failed this first day, so
and
Jess will
that's
never
okay.
get her true love
Mm,
back.
I think that's okay. We're all humans, and yeah, you do you, I'll do me. No judgment whatsoever. I mean, some moms like wine, and other moms shame the other moms for liking wine on playdates. So
Yeah, it's not good.
it seems like whatever you do, you can't like win. And also, why
Mm.
the heck are we comparing ourselves so much? Like, oh, why are you buying too many board games? Or why are you playing so many games? And oh, I want to play so many games. And now I kind of hate you because you played so many games. And this whole, I was like,
Yeah, some
no.
of it might be jealousy, some of it might be actually you're doing a really good, cool thing, and I want to be
Mhm.
like you. And some of it might be genuine um, judgments on, oh, this thing that you're doing is bad and I want everyone to stop doing this. But
Mhm.
as you've said, don't be judgy. That's like
Crusaders.
not
Yeah.
the
And
right
no one
way.
likes a crusader, right? I mean, look at the church.
Oh no, Jess. So Jess, previously apologized for me talking a lot about board games, but
I should
buying a
do,
lot of
yeah.
board games. It's both of us. Dina's parts of the whole board game scene. That's why, Dina's here, and you know.
I even have a like, but first coffee, then games.
But
And I've recently done 4 weeks on the trot with releasing a new game on Kickstarter. So I am a part of the big problem of unsustainably filling the market with board games. Of the 1,500 board games released on Kickstarter every single year, I have contributed to almost 40 of them so far. I mean,
so this is the recent highlight section, and
yeah.
so yeah, what else do you have any other recent highlights that you would like to
You're
quickly
supposed
bring
to
up?
show me your other game. I want to see your other game.
Oh yes, the last game that I played yesterday, or that I took a photo of, was Paperback. And so
Yeah.
this is a word game. I was given it by Tim Fowers, who designed it and self-published it. It's a deck building game. For those who don't know, that means that you start off with a bunch of cards, and then each time you make a word, you get new cards that come into your deck, and you don't get to use them straight away, the new cards. You kind of put them into your personal discard pile, and then eventually when you've run through your deck, which only takes 2 turns at the start, then you go through things and you get the new cards that you bought. And what I like about this is that at the bottom, you can see the points cards. All the points cards are also wild. So all of them give you any letter that you want. And then there's certain cards that give you points if you use a wild card, because normally the wild cards give you 0 points for using them. So then suddenly they can give you more purchasing power. And then there's cards that give you a double word score, but you need to discard it after use, and when you discard it, like,
Oh,
trash it from the game. And then there's cards that give you extra points, but then they go away. So if you go with the cards that go away, or the cards that allow you to trash things, then you can make up a really lean deck. And in the last couple of turns, I was drawing more than half my deck every turn, which was really nice, because I felt like, okay, I know what I've got. I've got all these cards that work well together, and I'm really proud of it. And I did end up winning it by a small margin. And we played it 5 players. It's not that much longer when you go up the player counts, because you always draw the cards at the end of your turn. And whilst everybody else is doing their thing, you've got a bit of time to think of your own word. So it just means that it won't be any given player's turn for as long. They will just hopefully have the word ready to go when it's the start of their turn. And it's really nice. It's the kind of things that you can only do when you've got custom cards. You could not replicate this exact feel of paperback or hardback with all the synergies and all the things that the cards do. If you like making words, but you also want to read and think about the way that things combine, then yeah, I would say paperback is good for halfway between those, and hardback is a bit lower on the word making, but higher on the how do things work together. Let's have cool things.
nice.
But yeah, it's a very well made game, and I'm looking forward to playing the cooperative game, probably solitaire at some point. And
I
then
really like the background coloring. Yeah, it's very pretty.
it is very lovely, and also all the artwork is done by, oh, I can't remember now, but it's one person who does all of Tim Fowers' games, and it's in this really distinctive style. But yeah, that is all the games that I played last night, and I do realize that actually having a guest on the Thursdays might not be the best, because Wednesdays are starting to be my day for going and playing games, so I already have a fair bit to talk about, and so it's already like 1/2 past the hour, and we've
Mhm.
only just finished. Like, unless you have other recent highlights to bring up, we're only just finishing them.
I redecorated very quickly.
Yay! Let's show
Right before the
your
stream.
redecoration.
Okay, okay. Right before the stream, I teared off the blackboard I moved my palm tree up and I moved my board games over. So I'm going to fill it because it's still quite empty.
Congratulations on redecorating. Oh, lots. Oh, that's my highlight. I had the worst day. That sounds horrible. I'm so sorry,
Oh,
Jess.
lots of
Lots
love.
of, yeah. I hope that tomorrow is better. And I hope that tomorrow you feel, yeah. I don't know, like, would you like an improv song? Sorry, Jess. Sorry, Jess. I hope that tomorrow is the best day that it can be for you. And I hope that you get to do many fun things tomorrow. Yeah. But, yeah, lots of love. Um, so, shall we? You're very welcome, Jess. I'm glad that you enjoyed that. Shall we move on to the main topic, which
Onwards and beyond.
oh, I'm glad that it's cheered you up. So, yes, we were going to talk about have a brief kind of I hate how I'm using all these buzzwords because what I'm worried about is that at some point it's going to become disingenuous. Because when you start talking about customer satisfaction, but you're not really concerned with connecting with folk, when you talk about brand loyalty, like it can feel really icky and disingenuous. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you have to remember that these are people, and as I was saying the past couple of days, that yes, I try to be manipulative to some degree because even the notion of saying, "Hey, please back my Kickstarter," manipulative is an emotionally charged term. But you want to influence people to some degree because even the notion of advertising itself is trying to influence people. When I post something, it's like, hey, please back my Kickstarter. That itself is trying to influence people to back the Kickstarter. I mean, hopefully it's not. Manipulative isn't the word that people would normally use for it, but it's normally, yeah. Do you see what I mean? It is kind of leading that way, and I worry about where's the line? Where does it become disingenuous? Where does it become insincere? Where does it turn from, hey, because, yeah, speaking of the ELL deck and speaking of marketing, so I am paying Chris and Layla to run this Twitter account under my guidance, of course. I, go in and I help curate it, I retweet, and I help reply to people myself, but Chris or Layla also reply to everyone who replies to these games. And Chris makes these lovely games so that like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday there's a game. And then soon there's going to be like the Thursday, hey, there's a photo challenge. Can you find a photo of something that starts with this letter? But this is all done, and I hope no one misunderstands. It is all done under a Twitter account that says twitter.com/ELL deck. I will actually link that. And I have to think, is it worth the time? Is it worth the money? Because it is kind of meant to be about, yes, the fact that people are enjoying it is brilliant, but I do want that to translate into sales. Because, yeah, that is what needs to be done. And it's not like, hey, this is a massive charity project. Out of the goodness of my heart, I want to have fun games for free for people. And yeah, but yeah, let's talk about that. And yeah, Jess, because there's a guest, sorry, pointing the wrong way, because there's a guest, I'm expecting this to take closer to an hour than half an hour. But it's still going to be briefer than when we were in the 300s, and it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's definitely not going to be that.
At one point.
Definitely not going to be that. But but yeah. So let's talk about the ELL deck Twitter. And you had a wee poke around inside, I believe. How do you think it's going? What can we do better? How could we improve?
It's putting me on the spot right away. That wasn't the question I thought you were going to start with. I thought, like, how do you feel like it's going? And not like, what is it actually going? I mean, sure. Because obviously you're feeling a disconnect between... you're feeling a bit of a disconnect between the product that you're pushing out and you're worrying whether or not it is still feeling genuine for the audience, as well as probably a little bit of relevance. Like,
Honestly,
why
I'm
are we
not
doing
really
this?
worrying about that. It's just a thing that I feel is important to keep in the back of the mind as I
Mm-hmm.
do become more commercially minded. I think it's important to keep that, yeah, honesty and genuineness and not, yeah, yeah, not be
Okay.
disingenuous, yeah, basically
Yeah.
honest. But I
Okay.
just flagged it up as a thing. But yeah, you can start off with how do you think it's generally going? Let's
Okay,
start off with
I
that.
think we have a very good system for what we are doing. There, people are answering, which means that they're interested. We change the content that people aren't responding to, so that it is more interesting and engaging, because obviously that's what we want. I was quick on the mute button there. I'm getting better at this. So
Bless you.
yeah, thank you. Back to my thread. Yes, so obviously we are doing this not just for ourselves, we're also considering people who are viewing it and who they are and what they're doing and what could be interesting. Because I think one of the most important things when you are running a brand and get moving from like personal branding into a branding on itself, because we are wanting LDEC to kind of be its own thing. It is not as attached to you as a creator as it was, in the sense that we're actually having other people who are working on it.
Mm.
And that can often, for the creator, feel like a bit of a disconnect because they're not as hands-on as they're used to. So your concerns, I'm glad that you're having them, because and also I want to validate those concerns because it's completely normal, and I see that a lot of times that people do sense this, oh, but I'm letting it go. And
No,
are
it's nothing
we
to do with letting it go. I mean, I think that Chris is doing a great job. It's just the fact that at this point, I have to validate all of Chris's time and Layla's time that I'm paying them for.
justify it? Yeah.
Yeah, I have to justify it and I have to say, is this actually going to turn into sales? But at the
Mm.
same time, I don't want everything to have to directly turn into sales and be trackable in a one-to-one ratio, because I'm aware that with marketing you can't necessarily do that. And yeah, there are a couple of people who messaged me to say, hey, I'm really loving this. Like one person was, hey, I really enjoy Total. How can I buy the Total deck? To which I
Mm.
replied, oh, that's exactly the same as all the other decks. Functionally, you can buy any of them. And the ELL deck I see are based in America. You can ask Indie Game Alliance, ask your
Mm.
friendly local gaming store to get one from them. And they're like, oh, yeah, I see the numbers now on the other things. I thought they were all different. And I explained that that's just like Chris made it look longer because it was just for that digital picture. It was a digital thing that Chris did.
Mm.
Um, Frankly, I want the games to look different, and I'm glad that someone looked at those cards and didn't even see that they were the same cards, which is kind of funny. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it does feel like, but it's never going to be the case that you say, okay, I spent this much, I gained this much money. I mean, yeah, how do you track things? But at the same time, you do need to justify them. But then at the same
Mhm.
time, if you start trying to justify them, then you let go from the just people having a good time and putting a bit of themselves. And sometimes, like, you do put, it does feel like a very woolly thing. Like, you want to do something you can be proud of. And yeah, and I love the fact that, yeah, I love what is being done. Do you get what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? I know
Yeah.
there's a whole bundle of different thoughts jostling for attention there.
There is. I can at least say that during this year we have, and through the guidance and the people like and how we're focused the product and how we're portraying it has meant that the account has gone from having an average about 5,000 impressions and views to now sitting at around 30 to 50,000. So people find it interesting enough to stop. People are finding it interesting enough to comment, and engaging with it on a regular basis. These kind of numbers are still jumping up and down a little because we are obviously testing some. So some month has, 50 plus, some go down to like 40 somewhere, but they are quite stable in that range. Which means that we are, increasing the organic reach of the branding, and slowly each month is increasing just a little bit.
I was reading this book actually earlier this week. I've got like about 10 pages left to go of it. And it's about Kickstarters and marketing and stuff. And I was, with the chapter on paid advertising, I was thinking, wow, those numbers, they just would not work for my game. When it talks about £2 for a paid ad to sign up to the mailing list. I mean, sure, if you've got a game and then it says, okay, if you've got a mailing list, maybe there's 20% chance of someone actually buying the thing. So you've basically spent £10 for someone to buy the thing. And if your game is £20 and you make £10 profit per person, then great, okay. They're buying the thing, and sure, Facebook ads might be great for that. But then it does make me think, well, if the game is only £5 or £10 or £15, it's going to be a lot. Like, the cheaper the game, the smaller the profit margin per unit, the more you kind of really need to focus on organic growth. And I feel like even when it comes to the Kickstarter for Couple, we can't really focus on paid advertising the way that a big game would. We need to hope that this magically, I don't know, it's not quite magic, but you know what I mean? Like, with that, yeah, we hope that this kind of brings enough interest and people being like, yeah, I'm like that, people back it. Would you agree that we need to do like 99% organic growth?
So yeah, I prefer doing organic growth for smaller games when the profit margin is as small, especially taking into consideration that ultimately for ads and ads placements, we would be wanting like a 3 times return on the investment that we're using for each of the backers. So say if we're paying £1, we should be making £3 on that person if they're purchasing. And that can be really hard when you're working with targeted ads if you don't have the money to spend for it, because it does require testing so that you know the audience and therefore you can build on to that. But if you don't really have the budget to start doing the testing to begin with, it can be really tricky because you can't just jump in and assume that those ads are going to work. You do need to do quite a lot of A/B testing to get to that. This is what works for this particular thing. And obviously, lead generations is generally cheaper to run than paid advertiser spots. So before a Kickstarter, running lead generations would probably be preferable than doing, normal ads. And also, like, boosted content works for, increasing your organic reach for short term, but in the long term, it isn't always the best thing to do. So there is definitely a balancing element to it. Now, having had more and more clients where I am helping on the ad side of things, I get to see more of these numbers myself and trying to tweak it what I can. And for one client, it might have been, done as a 0.18 pounds for each lead that we're getting. But for another one, it's been £4 each. So just working on trying to tweak based on the numbers, it's quite a job in itself.
And if you're seeing £4 as the best case scenario, that means that even if your profit margin is £5, you can't really rely on being able to make it work.
Yeah.
And so maybe, as you say, something that's a bit more promoted in Instagram, which is now, you explained in previous shows, is connected to Facebook, which has this whole, okay, we are allowing you to nail down into this tiny bunch of people who've expressed this preference and this preference and this preference, because yeah, that is basically Facebook's money making model that are incredibly good with data, and they allow people to advertise to the exact people who will be
Mhm.
interested in that. I mean, you've probably seen it all the time where you maybe look at something and then they're like, hey, you looked at this, but then you didn't get it. Why don't you get it? Come on. And
Which is obviously retargeting, where you're trying to go back to the people you have exposed them to a specific ad to see if you can convince them one last time.
that kind of
Um,
Facebook pixel, like it's like some people might say, oh wow, that's scary, or wow, but I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's like as long as it's clearly marked as an advert, I don't mind. Like today when adverts and things become blurry, that's too much for me. I mean, at least on YouTube, it's like, okay, well, I'm watching the content. Okay, now it's an advert. I'm going to,
mhm,
yeah, at least it's demarcation. That,
mhm.
and then, but then that's where organic stuff does become blurry. Because, I mean, again, hopefully no one is under any false assumptions that this isn't a corporate account. I mean, it's corporate sounds like it's a bigger thing than it really is. It is basically one person who's earning less than the average wage and two people who are being paid to yeah, it's like not like a big thing, but you know what I mean. It is like a
Mm,
business account. It is
yeah.
done to promote something and trying to ultimately get you to say, hey, if you've enjoyed these games 10 times, 20 times, even 50 times, like there'll be content as long as you want, but at some point, maybe you will want to play one of the games. And frankly, there is also the sense of, hey, have you remembered about Fable? If this reminds you to play Fable with your own deck with someone else, then maybe that other person will want to buy their own copy, and that
Mm,
might lead to more growth. Because yes, that's one problem: getting people to remind them about the games that they already own and try them again.
mm.
But yeah, do you think that it is worth the time and money for doing this? Do you think that it's going well? And what do you think we could do better?
Yeah, I mean, when you are taking the L deck and are wanting to sell it, I would definitely, create an ad for Twitter because that is your strongest suit for the L deck, and have it so that everyone who has commented on the content on from the account is getting the ad as a part of like retargeting ads, because we already have quite a lot of people who are engaging who are not necessarily following, and the following count is increasing, but just to make sure that they have the option and they are fully aware, even if we're doing organic, and reminding people that it is available, I think that can definitely work for this. In terms of running ads on other platforms, I mean, we're probably starting to see more Google ads for board games now that Facebook and Instagram ads are kind of iffy with the whole iOS updates that we saw earlier this year. And it gets more and more difficult to properly know whether or not someone actually purchased. And so there's a lot of like gray areas where we can't fully track everything. And from the analytic point of view, that becomes a problem because then you can't really determine how much you can spend.
Mm.
Um, so I would definitely, go in for Twitter ads, which can be a lot of fun, and they get a nice placement in the feed for people, and it's sponsored and it's really clear, and there's like an extra piece of space around it. Um, yeah.
It's interesting that you're talking about, yes, using adverts when we've talked about it maybe not being worth the money. But what you're saying is using these adverts to, yeah, capitalize to kind of remind people at when the Kickstarter's about to go live, or
Mhm.
maybe just the day that it's gone live to say, hey, now remember, you can get your couple deck and it'll be this thing.
Yeah. There's a little bit like a boosted content, but not quite. But
Hmm.
also, I see that they are a lot more efficient for when based on our how we are handling the accounts and the engagement that we are getting based on the accounts that we are on. It seems like the strongest suit here is, like the community, the relevance part of it, and like being goofy and silly, you can't do as well in ads. So it's more like targeting your actual audience to ensure that they are converting. Would I would probably focus on.
And
Hi,
hello, Sates. It is lovely to see you. Who says, couple deck? Nah, I am holding out for the Biddle and Invisible decks. It is lovely to see you. Yeah, it's. Yeah, we'll have. Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, hopefully one day. But I mean, there will be a lot of stuff that you'll potentially be missing out on in the meantime. But honestly, like Sate is old enough stuff that if you just say enough nice things, you'll probably just get one. Um, yeah, I wanted to talk about going on to Instagram and like a wee bit about our new kind of schedule that I'm planning with Chris. So what we're thinking as a schedule is that almost every day there will be something at 5 p.m. and something at like 12 noon UK time. Because those seem like good times, like because 12 noon or 12:30 maybe, it's lunch break here, but then US people are already awake, and yeah, um, yeah, I acknowledge your thing, and I am aware. I remember, don't worry. Just to say, yep, I'm aware that's how people things. But yeah, so what we're thinking is Monday, Total is going well. Part of me is tempted to put Total on a different day of the week just to see, is it doing well just because it's on Monday, or is like, would Categorical do better on a Monday? Is Monday just a really good day for people, and like whatever was there on that slot on Monday, would it grow better? But then at the same time, I do like the fact that there is a bit of a schedule and people are like, oh, Monday is the day for this. And so I do like that. I do like the fact that it's kind of like a magazine almost. And then what
have you
I'm
set up
thinking is like
specific hashtags for these, like Monday Wibble?
it's hashtag Total, and so
But
on
you haven't
Wednesday.
done the days.
No, haven't.
Yeah, you might want to look into that.
Hmm.
Niche hashtags, like they are superb.
But like we've already been doing hashtag Total for so long, and it's like I
Yeah,
think
but that's generically about the game. But now if you're doing like, oh, total is always on Wednesday or always on a Thursday, then you would make a new tag for that so that people do get the brand recognition of it being a Thursday thing. And you kind of telling them that it is a Thursday thing. You can expect this on Thursdays because that's the tag. So yeah,
and
if you're set on the days, do that. Hello, just
hello,
Joanne.
Joanne. Lovely to see you. Yeah, we're just having a bit of a marketing chat about the LDEC Twitter account, which is where I'm sharing these games that people can play. For example, this one, it's can you think of a word that uses at least one letter from all of the top cards? For example, straight away, I can think breadsticks. Because that uses a B, an E, a D, and an S, and also a bunch of other letters, but you're allowed to use other letters. And if you're feeling ambitious, then you'd use all 7 of those cards. And so I'll leave that as an exercise for the reader. And Joanne's talking about cats is has just fed Emerald. And yeah, it is tricky, but like if you do just the top 4, hopefully that's an easy one to get into. And a few people do just the top 4, but then if you do the bottom 7, then that adds a lot. And I was just looking at the hashtags because we are talking about the marketing. It's hashtag Wibble, which is the name of the game, hashtag Word Games, and hashtag LDEC. But
hashtag Wibble Wednesday.
so you would just replace Wibble with Wibble Wednesday.
Hmm. And then when you're talking about the game as a separate thing, then hashtag Wibble, because we were already established that this is a Wednesday thing. Therefore, it is a very specific niche tag within the Wibble tags that we would have to add.
Hmm. So what free tags would you put?
So obviously, the word games is good for discovery. The LDAC is, it's circumferencing basically every single piece of content that this deck is pushing out. I would probably move the L deck into the bio to have it there instead of putting it to every single piece of content, and then have Wibble plus Wibble Wednesday for a while to see if that would
Okay,
better
so you would
target.
get rid of LDEC because I guess the account is already there. You know it's the LDEC
Yeah.
because it's done by that account.
Yeah. I put
And
the hashtag in the bio, so in like the profile.
hmm, Joanne talks about the instructions, which is like I have been talking recently about how I believe that, games, like if you consider their thirds, like one third's design, developments, writing, and making the thing, and then one third the production and fulfillment, and then one third the marketing. But you need to do all of that together. And for sure, like the rules and everything, I think I really appreciate what Joanne's saying, specifically more bullets and more numbering. That is
Mm-hmm.
something that ultimately I need to think about. Is this the actual instructions? Are they good enough? How can I focus on maybe one instruction sheet at a time? Maybe with my right now, my writing challenge is going to be rewriting some of the top games for the recent contest. And so writing rules for, I'm not going to name them all because I'll forget something and then I'll share my biases or my preferences, which is not what I want to do at this point.
Hi, Yoda.
Oh, hello Yoda, lovely to see you. But yeah, I think that there's definitely still a feeling of growth. And at this point, I think that this is a conversation we should continue maybe in 2 or 4 weeks' time, and we can chat more about this. I'm aware that we're almost coming up to an hour, and there is going to be a lot to chat about this. Maybe next time we can chat about potentially moving some of this into Instagram, like taking a little look back. But in conclusion, for me right now, I do definitely see the LDEC in a growth phase where I kind of, if I believe that this can one day be something that is selling thousands with like almost like a hiring people to do great stuff, getting Vagard to maybe even categorical, frankly, we will see like if Vagard can get the stuff from Fabrica Cart and then send the stuff out from Fabrica Cart in Poland to USA, that would save me like a £5 per package potentially, which is quite
Mm-hmm.
a chunk. And it might be that my best scenario is to discuss things going forwards and yeah, getting more people helping me out, maybe getting someone who's just working on the rules writing. Could I find people to help with the instructions? Well, that's the thing. Like, there are people who do that professionally, but it's always a case of, you know, money. And if I asked someone like Chris to do it, Chris could do it, but would do it worse than me, is the truth right now, because I do have some experience in having written, I do like tens of instructions, and at least 10 of them got professionally printed. And like, yeah, I paid for them to be myself. So that's kind of like vanity press. But you know what I mean? Like, people don't say, oh, they're terrible. Sometimes people say they could be better, but I'm happy enough with them. But for sure, long term, having people to help would be the thing. But it is always the case of, where can I afford to invest the money? Where can I afford that? Do you know what I mean? And right now, it's not, yeah, it's not like I have loads at my disposal. Um, in wrapping up this main topic, do you have any other things that you feel the need to say right now, Dina?
I think maybe I want to ask people if they find this interesting and like engaging? Do they learn anything from it? Is it just the curiosity? Like, do people really just want to listen to us chat about business stuff on a stream?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Like, have people enjoyed this chat? Like, because this is basically like a peek behind the scenes. Frankly, this is a kind
Yeah.
of conversation that maybe Dina and I should be having privately, you know, off podcast. But yeah, is that okay? So Jay Folsgaard says they like it and they like that kind of peek behind the scenes. Um, Jess says hello. 1 hour now. Time is up. Whoops, time is up. And I
Ding, ding,
mean,
ding, 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 ding.
I find similar things. Like I do find when I'm listening myself, in the wee bits when Rob Davio talks on board game design roundtable GDRT, which is a great podcast. Definitely listen to it. If you're listening to this, then and you're interested in board games that I didn't make, then definitely do that. And yeah, Yoda says, I enjoyed the parts which I saw, which wasn't much today. Sorry, no apologies needed.
No apologies
And
needed.
Joanne is just waking up at the end, so presumably isn't able to take much in or give much feedback. But I
Also, this
appreciate with
is,
you, Joanne. It's just lovely to see you.
and this is very specific suggestions based on the LDEC and the data that we have. So it's not necessarily something that you can apply to different companies. So I just wanted to check because yeah,
like it's not something that people can directly apply to their own thing. But if you are making a game, then maybe it's like a bunch of things that you might vaguely want to consider, apply it to your own thing. And it's like a case study. You get to see how a couple of people do it.
Yeah. And we did talk about doing a proper post-mortem on stream where we would go from the We Whimsical Creatures, which we launched on Kickstarter, and then go through every bit of it and just show people how is the post-mortem for a Kickstarter done, and what kind of data would you be having to look into, and what do you want to pick up, and what can you learn from it. And I think that could probably be more applicable of learning and hands-on experiences.
I mean, that almost sounds like two separate shows, like one show about what a post-mortem is, and then a separate show afterwards doing the post-mortem of a game about wee whimsical creatures and try to identify them after someone makes noises. And I noticed that you're not giving it its full respect. You seem to never use the full title. What's all that about, Dina?
It's so long. That loves her long names, and I'm over here going okay, it's a WWC. That's enough for me. I can see that because people know what I'm talking about, and I think that's the most important thing. And this as a hashtag would just not fly,
Hashtag AGAWWCATTITASMM.
See, people wouldn't know. But hashtag We Whimsical Creatures, yes. Hashtag We Whimsicals could work. Whimsical Creatures, yes, definitely. WWC, probably not. And then, so you want to enforce the tags that we have been using during the campaign so that's easier for people to find it back. Because if they do go to socials and search on that, they're not going to find much. So I think it is important that me as a marketing person is enforcing the tags that we are using to make it easy for people to discover it.
Yeah,
yes, and WWC does sound like a wrestling federation. I do agree.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a separate game of the whimsical creatures doing wrestling, and you have to battle it out to see which one is the best.
The Whimsical Wrestling Championship. Oh,
yeah.
This is exactly how, a game about drawing creatures, complimenting the drawings and then complimenting the compliments all started off when Sean was talking about a podcast saying, oh, that's your next game. Just doing the way you gamified you making the creatures, do that for everyone. Do a bunch of dice. And I was like, no, dice wouldn't work, but, on cards, that could work. And then I talked to you about it 2 days later, and I was like, and maybe after you've complimented the drawings, then you compliment the compliments, and then it just came together.
What's if
you have a bunch of cards that give the creatures powers, and you've got to debate which creature would make it through like the next challenge. Like it's a game
Yeah.
about discussing which creatures would be best suited for different things. It does remind me of a couple of different games that already exist. But
I would have done like a deck builders, and then you can draw like a style points that you can add into them, and then you kind of have to play them with the style points against whatever your component has and see
deck
which one
building.
wins. Yeah,
Interesting.
I would go that route.
Yeah, I like that idea. Joanne, apparently tried drawing some wee whimsical creatures, but they turned out grotesque.
Ooh.
So weird.
I wonder if we could use this for our wrestling game.
But yeah, I don't have
Clearly we're making that now.
any tips, but yeah, I would be interested to see that if it's on Instagram or something. But it is time. Oh, style points, cards with cloths for wee whimsical clothes. And maybe they've got like
and a crown, maybe a scepter, shoes with wings.
Like I was thinking, you've got the creature, and then maybe you've got like hidden objectives. So some people are really want creature number 1. Some people want creature number 2. Some people really want creature number 3, but you don't know who is who. I guess at this point, this is a very big group game, and then you're putting little advantages onto the creatures and disadvantages onto the other people's creatures, and you're kind of, then there's a judge, and like the judge is like a separate person each round, and then they say, okay, this creature is clearly the best, and then whoever. But yeah, if you're buffing up your own creature and debuffing other people's creatures, then it's going to be pretty obvious what your hidden objectives are. That doesn't work. Anyway, it needs more thought.
No, so you are buffing up the person who have the card that you need to buff up, but your objective is to try to end the game with you having it. So maybe there's some, you can shuffle them around. Some of the style points that you can play allows you to move one character one to the right, for example.
Oh, so there's like set wardrobes, but then at some point the creatures swap wardrobes, so it's like highly chaotic, and then they swap all their clothes.
I know. It's just it would be so much fun.
Joanne says, I tried making a baby dinosaur, but it was really strange. Had a human-like baby face. I wanted to make a creature that made baby sounds.
Baby sounds. Okay.
I think for me, I don't really think so much about the sound straight off the bat. I've started trying to have different numbers of mouths and different legs and different things that could make noises. But for me, it was just, okay, let's put these things together. And if you try to stay as far away from human-like stuff, then you'll avoid falling into the uncanny valley. From what you're saying, that might be the issue, that you're falling into this situation where it kind of looks human-like enough that it starts to be disturbing.
Yeah.
And stay safe, Jess, who is apparently listening to us whilst on a motorbike.
It's dangerous.
Stay safe, Jess. Yeah. But let's wrap up.
It's
firstly,
raining here, so I wouldn't advise it.
Where have we got to? We've got time for one questionably quick question in this section. It's time for, it's not an interrogation, just a questionably quick question section. Okay, Jess previously asked, where are you, Dina?
Where am I? I'm at home, where I'm always at.
What country, what city?
Living room, in Finland, in the Nordic countries. Yeah. In a town called Hämeenlinna.
Hämeenlinna.
Hämeenlinna. Because
Hämeenlinna.
No R.
Hämeenlinna.
See, you got it. Linna is castle. Häme is the area. So obviously it's a Hämeenlinna.
Okay, so you've got a castle nearby. That sounds fantastic.
I do.
And thank you for answering the questionably quick questions. Yeah. Joanne says maybe I'm right about the uncanny valley. We haven't had a brilliant thing. What sort of thing which is brilliant? Is a castle brilliant, Dina?
Yeah, that's the only reason why I moved here. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to live in a town with a castle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why lots of Edinburgh people moved there. True story. It is a very
Yeah,
pretty
true
city. I
story.
mean, it's not as good as Glasgow in terms of stuff going on, but it's very
Yeah,
pretty.
and it's just, you know, there's a train, so you could
Mm.
potentially just shuffle over to Glasgow and back again.
Now, I would like to finish up by saying, over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. So if you've got something frivolous or serious or something you need to do or you want to do, let me know. What is it that you are up to? Yeah, I am going to have Chris. We are hopefully going to be getting the final bit of a game about wee whimsical creatures. Oh, did I actually
Oh,
show you
oh,
the
oh,
compliments
are you
cards? I
gonna
don't know
show?
if you saw this.
No.
It says you are brilliant on one
Oh,
side, and then on the other side it says keep it
keep
up.
it up.
And I've already started giving these away to people. The idea is
Oh,
that like people who
nice.
got the physical game will just get like maybe 3 of these. I don't know what number is appropriate. I think 3 is a good number for Kickstarter backers at least. And
Yeah.
then you've got one to keep yourself to remind you that you're brilliant, and then a couple to give away to people that you think are brilliant, whether it's someone that made you smile or someone that you enjoyed an evening with or whatever. It's
Are you going to upload them to Etsy afterwards so people can buy more of them?
what just buy compliments like
Yeah,
physical compliments cards.
people love compliment cards.
Oh, that's a good shout. I hadn't thought of that. I might put it up on my website.
I think you should. Yeah,
Oh well,
compliment
let's
cards
talk about
is
that. But
brilliant.
the other thing we're going to do is get the games and we're going to stuff them with cards. And so, like, when you buy the
Ooh.
physical game, yeah, you'll get the game, but also just at the back, you'll get the little compliments cards. And also, someone said, Bez, you're a terrible business person. They didn't say that, but they kind of didn't. They said,
I said
Bez,
it, but didn't say it.
why have you not even got your websites here? Why have you not got some contact details on this game? If people buy this cheap game and enjoy it, how can they contact you? And it's
Yeah,
true. So I have to put my business cards in each copy as well, just so that in
yeah.
future, if people get it, there is a business card there. And there will also be a couple of really nice stickers there.
Awesome. That's
But
great.
that is the bulk of what I am doing today. And I am going to go and play games with a brand new person who lives maybe
Ooh.
3 miles that way. And then tomorrow I'm going to be doing playtesting. That is my exciting life for the next 36 hours. What are you up to, Dina? What is everyone else up to?
Okay, so I launched the last game on the road that I had on Tuesday, which went good. We funded in like 90 minutes, and the fun thing was yesterday I got up to a comment and an email and a comment on the Kickstarter page. So there was like 3 places with people saying, "Oh my gosh, Dina, you're brilliant!" And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice," because
Oh,
I had asked beforehand to get some help for colorblind to make the game colorblind friendly that we were working on. And they had seen me asking and said that our interaction felt genuine and therefore they were going to pledge for the game. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, what I really just wanted was, you know, for the accessibility point. And apparently that made people back the game, so I was super excited, and they were obviously super excited because they had taken my advice, which they don't always do, my clients, and it's obviously entirely up to them whether or not they want to listen. But I do try to push, you know, diversity and accessibility wherever I can. So it was just so nice to have that. And the since the game designer is very young and is still at school, I'm the one handling most of the updates. So I'm writing all the updates, and I've never done this many
that
updates on the
must be
Kickstarter
amazing. Like to be working with, like, yeah, and so presumably their parent or guardian is dealing with all the financials and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, they are. So the kid is 17 years old. He started doing game
By
design when he
Joanne,
was
by the way.
just into 16. Hi, Joanne. And it's been so much fun because obviously this is their first experience jumping into board games and being a game designer and just taking them under the wing and teaching them all the things. And I'll be like, oh, you don't want to do this. You want to do this instead. And here's why. And then trying to make anything into a teachable moment. So it's kind of like I do with my own kid already. So I'm finding that being a mom is very helpful. But also, I don't want to be too much of a mom because I do work on the marketing for them. But it's a very interesting week for that. It's like I have an extra kid, but he lives in the States. um, So today I am going to probably write another update to talk more about the inspiration behind the game and all that, and have them approve of it. And I've been working on a super secret project with Dice Coalition, and I know that
Ooh.
Fabricio is coming over in, what is it, 4 days
Dice
to
Coalition
visit?
with Fabrizio Leozzi.
Yeah, yeah. And we're working on something super secret, which I've been so stoked about. And I have the game out on my table, and we've been corresponding back and forth about this super secret thing that is going to come out of it. So I'm just gonna have it as a teaser for now because I know
Ooh.
that he's going to tell more about it when he comes to your show.
Okay.
So I can't
So
tell, and I'm super excited.
okay, so we will be hearing about that. Yeah, Fabrizio is going to be on the show. Chris made some special thing yesterday. Um,
Oh,
um, like a yeah. So
a
we'll have
thing.
Fabrizio on Monday to meet Fabrizio to see who is Fabrizio. Let's talk to them for maybe an hour maximum, and then even though this has gone on longer, then it's Tuesday again. But I want to recap and wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to say we've talked about so much. It has been lovely having all of you. We talked about games played. I showed a whole bunch of games that I played yesterday in the pub. The white beer was lovely. The lemon beer, do not have that. You know, I'm starting to think that citrusy beers, they just don't tend to work well. They start to be artificial. Beaches was good. Nomads was not good, but Pyramids games generally agree with. Paperback, lovely synergy. And we talked about fungi, gathering mushrooms, having to check things, having a new neighbor to play games with. We talked about the L
Yeah.
deck. We talked about the nature of wanting to be genuine, about being letting go, about getting professionals to join in with the rule sheets, about people drawing their own wee whimsical creatures and them turning out a bit ghastly and human-like and like a dinosaur of a human baby that was apparently a bit macabre. And then we talked about being really proud of the campaigns that have launched and having this little person. I say little person like I mean a child, not really a child. That's but like
It's
someone who's
okay.
younger and it's kind of a new experience working with them, and that sounds really cool. And just packing stuff and complimenting cards. And we talked about Finland, and I've already forgotten the name of the town, and castles are brilliant.
Castles are brilliant, and Fabricio Leotti is coming to visit later, and people should totally tune into that. And then I think I also want to add in that me and Fabricio are going to talk on the IGDA later, like next week. And if people want to learn more about Kickstarter marketing and stuff like that I work with, or learn more about him after he has visited the show, definitely tune into that. And I'm sure he will share the link. And I'm going to share the link once I have it on Twitter, but I don't have it yet. So stay tuned. There's going to be lots of stuff and
Ye-
learnable opportunities. Yeah.
yes, if you want to check out Dina, then um, there's lots of places,
That's
and
a lot of links.
those you can check out on TikTok, on Twitter, on the Instagram, on YouTube, or on
LinkedIn and.
all the things. Check
Oh
out all
yeah,
the
that's the
things.
link to my short film. Please don't watch it. It's
You'll have
okay.
to update your links with me
I
for
have
next
to do
time.
that.
And if you want to
Yes.
check me out, I am Stuff by Bez everywhere. And
Yes.
also, I
Join
should
the
have
Discord.
done the um, L deck since I did chat about it. So it would be quite bad marketing to not at least offer a link. If you are not already following the L deck, then definitely check it out. And yep, I am streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK time. I do have a couple of appointments next week with Fabrizio Leozzi on Monday and Tuesday, and I'm going to start reaching out to people and apologising that my laptop's been out and looking to get some publishers and writers and all sorts of people. Share, spread the word. I want to say
Yeah.
thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for Jess, who's making this show incredibly international, all the way over in Thailand, listening from a bar. And, that's wow. And for Joanne and Yoda and Jay Folsgard and like all the people who are here. And of course, thank you very much. Dina, you are super awesome. Thank you for being here.
You are
And,
awesome.
oh, Um, yeah, because we've got a decent crowd, shall we keep it
Right.
going? Do people fancy either checking out Performing Nerd, who does Rubik's Cube stuff, or would you like to do Amadeus Music, who's lovely music? Excitement or music?
Music.
Music. Okay, let me click on Amadeus Music and do 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 boo 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 do do
Stretching
do do
time.
do 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 do. So copy paste that if you want to help us make a splash. And at this point, do you have any final words, Dina?
Love you all. Thanks for listening.
Bye bye bye
Bye.
bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye 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 bye. Thank you for watching
Watching
along. Bye 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye 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 bye. This is a goodbye song.
goodbye song.
Bye 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye 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 bye. This is the end of the
End of the
show.
show.
Bye 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 bye. And
And I
now
know
it's
it's time
time to
to
go.
go.
Bye bye, Cheerful's Guard. Bye bye,
Bye,
Jess.
Jim's car. Bye,
Bye bye,
Jess.
everyone. Bye
Bye,
bye,
everyone.
Dina.
Bye.